That is Miss Liz headed right there. If you want to go to Children's Church, just follow her. I'm very, very proud of our Children's Church work. We have some very fine workers that rotate and take the kids at different months, and they always do a good job back there. The kids come out. I know my granddaughters always talk about what they made and what they did and what they studied, and still talking about it. And I hope that when they go home, they're telling you about what they did in Children's Church. So, so pleased with that. I know God is honoring that. If you noticed, not for vanity's sake, but hopefully to multiply our message a little bit, if a particular lamb service or children's lesson, I think sometimes I like the children's message better than the sermon. So if you, sometimes you might not like either or like both or whatever, but if there was one that appeals to you, I'm taking those. First of all, I hope someone will follow my footsteps, and if they want to learn how those lessons, those will be on YouTube long after I'm gone or available. But also I take those who sing. So if there's a song that you miss that Ronnie sang, Danny sang the Statue of Liberty last Sunday in honor of our celebration of Independence Day. It's one of my favorite Christian July 4th songs. So if you didn't hear him sing that, then that also is on YouTube. I put the messages there. And sometimes as I deal with people, as I counsel, or even with friends or family, I used to give away a lot of books, but I've given away about all of my books now, and sometimes someone will say, I have a question, or I was wondering about this, or what does the Bible say? And I said, I have a message on that, and I can just send them a link or give them a DVD that's got that on there. And so we're hoping that we're reaching or have the possibility. When Danny preaches, we'll tape it, and I've got some sermons by Danny out on YouTube. If you just need to know how to connect with him, let me know. And we have guest preacher, Brother Michael Mason, was with us at homecoming. So hoping that what we do here and the way we're sharing the Word of God, that there are other possibilities, and that seed could get blown by the wind somewhere else. And it's more than just people who are here on Sunday morning or Sunday night or Wednesday night. Mentioning Wednesday night, I put in your bulletin also last 2 Sundays. We're watching an excellent series of Bible study by DVD on Wednesday nights called Future Family. And if you'd like to view those, if you miss any of them or you're not able to come on Wednesday night, if you have a computer or a smartphone or a tablet and you have internet access, then you could watch those and listen to those on those devices as well. So we're just trying to figure out ways to scatter more seed and get the message. I believe that the message that Christians believe is very important. I believe it's the most important message in the world. That God created us. There is a God. He created us. He made everything. And He had a Son. He sent His Son. His Son was Jesus. And Jesus lived and taught and worked. And then He gave His life. He raised up His life again and ascended up into the heavens. We believe that. And I believe it's more important than anything you're reading on the paper right now, or anything you're watching on television, and or anything that perhaps they're talking about at the local shoe shine stand, or wherever people hang out at the water cooler, wherever that is these days. I believe our message is important. Your story, how you became a Christian, what God means to you, and what the Lord Jesus means to you, very important. Tell people, share it with others. It's not just a church thing, not just a Sunday morning thing. It is something that's very important. So those things, why we do that, why we take these, is to find a way, not just speaking of the world at large, but I'm also hoping that I may not be here always, and as my granddaughters grow, I hope that perhaps the things that I have said or the things I've taught or I've preached, that they might have an opportunity to view those later on. I might be able to say something to them that they need to hear, maybe even after I'm gone. I don't know, there are things that you need to write down to leave behind. There are letters that you need to write to people right now, telling them what you need for them to know, or maybe you have an apology to make, or you'd like to confess a fault or a flaw or some misstep that you've made. Or maybe you need to thank someone or show appreciation. Write something. Maybe you don't sing a song or you don't dance, But there are things that you do. There are things that are part of your life. Let God use all of those things to spread the love of God that has been shared in your life. Do the things that you can do. Let God show you. If you say, well, I don't have anything, I can't do anything. No, I don't believe that's true. Let God show you what he can do in your life that is far beyond the walls of our church. Now, on this note, I meant to make a comment. It's a side trail, so I'm going to start out with that this morning. I did mention Danny sang the Statue of Liberty. You know, does anybody remember where it's mentioned in the song, I think, one geographical aspect of where the Statue of Liberty is? It came to us from Paris. They sent it to us from France many years ago as a gift, a diplomatic gift and a symbolical gift between our countries. But there's one reference in the song that Danny sang, but where is the Statue of Liberty? You know?
Staten Island, New York City.
It's in New York. And the song says New York Harbor, doesn't it? In New York Harbor. But it's on an island. Do you know what the name of the island is? Ellis Island. It's Ellis Island. Now, it's a famous place because our country is a country of immigrants. Most of us, unless we're Native Americans, and Native Americans came here from somewhere else. They didn't just spring up out of the ground here, whatever they might tell you or claim. They came across the Bering Strait, came walking down through here many hundreds and hundreds of years ago. But we all are a melting pot of immigrants. And during the early part of the 20th century and even the latter part of the 19th century, people began to discover that the United States of America was a wonderful place to be. And the reason we talk about Ellis Island is that many of our forefathers and foremothers came to this country. They landed on a ship there in New York Harbor at Ellis Island. And the Statue of Liberty is standing there and says, give me, you're tired, you're humble. You know, it does that whole thing. It says, come on. It's saying, come on to America. Now, you might have been given the impression today that America has changed its mind and we don't want any immigrants. Well, that's not true at all. You know, if you came to Ellis Island back in, say, 1880, if you didn't have your papers, you know what they'd do to you? They'd turn you around and send you back to wherever you came from. You had to come in at a certain place, and that was a very, very popular place, a very important place to enter our country legally. And still there are more people entering the United States legally every year now, right now, this very minute, than are entering other countries legally any other place in the world. People still want to come to America. Now, it has become popular, and we have always deported criminals who have come in and people who have come in illegally into our country. So for a while, however, though, we just began to open up our borders and just say, you can come in from Canada, you can come in through the oceans, the Atlantic Ocean, Pacific Ocean, you come across the Rio Grande, and thousands and thousands and thousands of people were coming in illegally. Now, many of those people are just good people, and they're just looking for a way out of a bad situation, or they're looking for a job. But when they come in illegally, they're illegal. And there is a way we want people to come because, listen, great discoveries have been made by people who came to our country. Songs and sonatas have been written, plays, great, wonderful books, wonderful inventions have been made. People coming to our country, and when people come in, they bring something with them. But we have never supported. It's illegal to come in without permission. It always has been. It always has been. And I think that there's sometimes we've been given the wrong impression right now. There are still thousands and thousands of people who come into our wonderful country, and what a wonderful contribution so many of them are going to make. But we are also a country of laws and legality. We'd like to be gracious and let everybody in, but you know, when I go to bed at night, I'll lock the door. And I don't want anybody coming in unless I let them in. And I'm not going to let them in unless I feel that they're safe. It's safe to let them in. So that's just common sense. And I don't know what your political views are. That doesn't seem to be politics to me. It just seems to be common sense. Well, anyway, let's go on. That's the Statue of Liberty. I hope that you got to blow something up or eat some watermelon or some barbecue ribs on Tuesday, or you got to do something to celebrate our independence and our freedom. We live in a wonderful country. Now, We're going to go on in the book of Acts. I want to talk to you today, start a series called More Than Miracles. I have written a book. It's on Amazon. And to line up with this, I'm going to put some links to this book on my webpage and on Facebook and also in other ways. I'd like you to have that book for free. If you'd like to have it, you can read it on your smartphone, read it on your computer, read it on your tablet, your Kindle, read it in so many different ways. More Than Miracles. And I've called it After the Fireworks. So let's go and look at the next slide there. We're told in Acts chapter 2 in the Bible, on the Jewish celebration day, the day of Pentecost, that God poured out His Spirit upon all believers. And it says that there appeared upon each one of them a cloven tongue of fire. It's a very amazing thing. And so I'm thinking of that as the fireworks. Well, what happened after the fireworks? What happened after chapter 2? It's chapter 3. Let's look at some scripture here in Acts, in your Bible, the book of Acts, chapter 3, starting with verse 1. This is after the fireworks. Well, as a matter of fact, as you noticed the other day, that I had some fireworks before the 4th hit here, and I've got some fireworks left over, and that seems to happen. Well, there was more fireworks after the fireworks of Pentecost. In Acts chapter 3, starting with verse 1. It says, Now Peter and John went up together to the temple at the hour of prayer, around 3 in the afternoon. A man who was lame since he was born was carried and laid daily at the beautiful gate of the temple. There were 12 gates. Big walls were around Jerusalem. Walls, very scriptural. Doesn't matter who built them. They had 12 gates, and one of them was called Beautiful. So this man, he sat there every day at the beautiful gate to beg for alms from those that entered. And when he saw Peter and John about to go into the temple, he asked them for alms. And Peter, fastening his eyes on him with John, said, Look at us. And he looked at them, expecting to receive something. Okay, let's look at it. I found a nice picture there. You might depict that. The temple was a huge literal building of what had begun as a tent with a cloth fence around it, the tabernacle in the Old Testament. As they traveled through the wilderness, Moses and all the Israelites, they had the tabernacle. And later on, King Solomon, one of the third king of Israel, he took stone and marble and precious stones and jewels and concrete and stone, and just everything you can imagine, physical, and he made the temple. Now, nobody ever actually went into the temple. There are two buildings. Actually, one building with two parts. The Holy of Holies and the Holy Place. It was what used to be the tent part. Well, there's a huge building there. Only priests could go into the Holy Place, and only one man, the high priest, he's the only one. Only one person could go into the Holy of Holies, where the Ark of the Covenant was. But people didn't go into the temple. They kind of went into the courtyards. There were various courtyards that you went in. There was a huge wall around it, not made of cloth this time. And different places where people went to study, to pray, and to fellowship, to be in the presence of God. There was a lot of things. There was even a place where they could legally and morally sell doves and goats and sheep, and lambs and oxen for sacrifices. So later on, when we see those animals in the temple, they're not really in the temple. They're in the courtyard that was reserved for the animals. And the Old Testament provides for that to take place so that when you traveled from a long way off, you didn't have to bring your sacrifice with you. You could buy it there at the temple. What Jesus was upset with was that they were the money changers. They were cheating people and stealing from people. Everybody knew it. Jesus felt like he needed to make a statement about it. He ran all the money changers out. So here's in the temple. There's Peter and John, and here's a man. Now I remember as I've traveled in the Far East and in the Middle East, you see it quite often. You'll go to a bus station, a train station, a taxi cab depot, places of public commerce and public transportation that often, if you and I lived there and we had a member of our family that was crippled or blind or some way physically handicapped. Now, You think probably everybody in the world takes care of their poor the same way we do, but they don't. And you can even go to a lot of places in the world where they have socialized medicine, and they'll say, well, let the government take care of it. You don't ever want the government to take care of it. Not ever, about anything. Here in the United States, it's not perfect. A lot of things go wrong. And a lot of people get left out, and some people get neglected. Some people are overlooked. That happens. But listen, I've traveled all around the world in almost every country. And I've never seen any place that does as good a job as we do, even with all our mistakes and our problems. You would take your family member and they would have a spot. And you would take them there early in the morning and you'd leave them there with a bucket or a pan or a basket. And they'd stay there all day begging. I've seen it. I've seen it almost everywhere I've gone. So happy to come back home and see a better and different way of doing it. So this occurs a number of times in the Bible that you'll see that there were people in public places. Well, this man was born this way. And he'd been taken there even since he was just a little boy. And that's the way he made his living. Let's look at the scripture passage again. And here's the next slide. I'm sorry, not Andy. Andy's nephew. Carter. I'm just trying to get ready to get used to the idea of you being gone, Carter. Oh, you're going to come back on weekends though, aren't you? Not so much, he says. Not so much. He said, no, if I get out of the Dotson house, I'm going to go. Peter and John went up together to the temple. Now, that's the last 2 or 3 messages when I've been talking about adding. This is still, if you'll follow this theme and this idea off of the book of Acts, the early history of the church, there was a lot of together. There was a lot of together. I think that you and I do a lot of stuff alone. We do a lot of stuff on our own. We don't think we need help. We don't depend upon other people, but that's not necessary. The reason the Lord Jesus founded the church so that you and I could encourage each other. Not just on Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. You see, it doesn't say what day this is, but I think it seems to be pretty obvious that it's not on Saturday, which was their Holy Sabbath, and it doesn't seem to have been on Sunday. And it's certainly not 11 o'clock. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But they had found a way. You know, these men, when it became 3 o'clock, well, that's the hour of prayer. Until Jesus came along. You know what Peter and John were doing at 3 o'clock on Monday? They were fishing. They were working. They didn't say, well, let's put the nets down and go to Jerusalem and pray. Or let's go to the house and pray. Or let's face east and pray. They were hauling in fish. They were fishing. So they have a new, different kind of life. They were trying to figure out going to the temple at the time of prayer. In other words, they didn't say that everybody had to pray, or it's a law you got to pray, or a commandment. But if you want to pray, a bunch of us is getting together at the temple at 3 o'clock. Come pray with us. That's pretty much what it was. So this is something kind of new to James and John, to John and Peter, 2 of Jesus' disciples. Well, what are we going to do? We're not fishermen anymore. Well, let's find a way to do what we always did with Jesus, with other people who believe in Jesus, and a lot of people who don't believe in Jesus. Well, let's go to the tent. So they were doing that. So finding ways, you see, to set up other dominoes, to get more firecrackers twisted together. They were not content to just spend the day alone. There's nothing wrong with the day alone. There's nothing wrong at all with a day without prayer, perhaps. I wouldn't advise it. But here, there's still that idea of together. Or finding a way on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to get what's good and what's important about 11 o'clock on Sunday morning and bringing it with me, taking it with you. So here they were. They said a man was lame since he was born, was carried and laid daily. See, it was his job. They don't have welfare. They don't have food stamps. They don't have socialized medicine. They don't have any kind of leave or any kind of social. They didn't have that. We've gotten to a place in our country where we say that those things are our right. I have a right to that. I have a right to food stamps. I have a right to be paid or to get workman's comp. I have a right for the government but they're privileges. They're privileges. That's not our right. And we begin to act as if everybody out there owes us something. You know what the worst part of that is? Is that sometimes we convince ourselves that God owes us something. If you think God owes you something, you're wrong. And not only are you wrong, you're dangerously close to blasphemy. Blasphemy is a word that means stupid speech. I didn't say that you spoke stupidly or that you are stupid, but I'm telling you, when the Bible uses the word blasphemy, that's what it means. God made you. God made you. God made everything. He doesn't owe you anything. God is not in our debt. And we do not have any rights as human beings, or rights other than the ones He's given to us. Most everything in our life is just God's amazing grace. His grace. Now, they went to the beautiful gate. And when He saw Peter and John about to go into the temple, He asked them for alms. Now, Jesus talked a little bit about alms. You see, they had never been taxed or even knew what a tax was until Rome conquered them as a nation. Romans taxed people. It was an idea that may have been invented by the Greeks or the Phoenicians. But Romans really liked it. In other words, a way to take away a part of what you have, and we say, and give it to, it's not a Robin Hood kind of principle. Rob from the rich and give to the poor. It's a rob from everybody and keep pretty much all of it yourself. Now there's some things that Rome did. Rome built roads, and they built an army, and they administrated, they governed the nations that they overcame. But in spite of how many taxes you were supposed to pay, they asked Jesus one time, were we supposed to pay taxes? And Jesus said, yes, you're supposed to pay taxes. Jesus said, it's got Caesar's picture on there. It belongs to him. Give it to him. But Jesus talking about alms. Alms is charity. It's giving because you don't, not because you have to, because you want to. You want to help somebody. And so, as this man laid on one of the steps of the temple, and people would come by, no one who passed by was obligated to give him anything. He didn't have any rights. There was no law, and there was no governmental structure to make people give him money. And so if they gave him some money, alms, it was just because they were good people and they shared. And not only just rich people. We saw that Jesus was talking, a woman came by and she just had a couple of coins, and she gave everything she had. So you don't have to be rich to be generous. A lot of poor people. If it wasn't for the generous poor people, we couldn't run the work of God probably. So he was asking for alms. And Peter stopped, and he says he fastened his eyes on him. And Peter said, look here. Look here. And he looked at them expecting to receive something. Now, this is very important. I'm spiritualizing this text just a little bit. Because of the nature of human beings, we're always expecting something from each other. That's why pretty much most human beings walk through their whole life being disappointed just about all the time. I was watching a clip from the Avengers the other night. I know it may not be on your viewing list, but you got to keep in touch. So that's where me and my son connect. And there's Dr. Bruce Banner. He's the one who changed into the Incredible Hulk. And we've always seen that every time he gets angry. I remember seeing the first time in the television series, he was changing a tire to rain. Remember that? It slipped and he hit his knuckle. I know exactly how I almost turned into the Hulk Friday night. I was starting to get green, and I'm already busting out my clothes. So I was right on the verge. So here's all the Avengers: Captain America, the Black Widow. Just the whole gang was there, and they were being invaded by this huge machine coming into the city. And they know that the only one that can stop it is the Hulk. And there's Dr. Banner. He's sitting there, he's kind of wimpy kind of looking guy. And somebody looked at him and said, Dr. Banner, I think it's a really good time that you got angry. Dr. Banner turned around and looked at him and he says, that's my secret. I'm always angry. So I think you see it, and sure enough, the boy turned around, there came that thing, it was just barreling down this big machine. He turned big and ugly and green, and he just hit it and stopped right there in the street. I think a lot of times we're angry at each other because you're not giving me what I want. And I'm angry, I'm mad at you, I'm mad at the government because they're not giving me what I want. And I go to Walmart and they didn't give me what I want. They didn't give me what I paid for. We're walking around and we're in a snid of disappointment and discouragement and despair all the time because we feel like everybody in the world owes us something. This man was looking at Peter and John and said, oh boy. Peter said, look at us, look here, look here. People done that before. And I imagine he started holding out his bucket. Okay, good. People are looking at you all the time. Everybody is. And not just because you're a Christian, but that's because of what other people do. They're looking at you. They're focusing their eyes on you, and they want something from you. What do you have to give people? And you can't avoid it. You can say, well, I'm just a personal person. I'm quiet. I kind of keep to myself. People are always looking at you. And they're not always looking at you because they admire you, or they'd like to be you, or like to know you. It doesn't have, they're not looking at you because they approve of you, or even sometimes because they disapprove of you. Most of the time, when anybody you meet, going anywhere, anytime you catch their attention or people look at you, is because they want something from you. And listen, you're walking, you're taking every step of your life. You want something from other people too. Why in the world would God send His Son to die for folks like that? God sent His Son. All right, let's look at the next, verse 6. Then Peter said, I don't have any silver or gold. I wish I could see that guy's face right now. I don't have any silver or gold. Well, what do you want then? I ain't got nothing. But I give you what I have. What do you have? Are you a Christian? You don't have anything? I'm not just talking about money and stuff. Talking about invisible things, I didn't want to get too deep with the kids over here, but do you know that in our universe, not just the galaxy, but in our universe, that 90% of the matter is invisible? What matter is stuff. It's stuff. That's what matter is. 90% of it is called dark matter. I just discovered it in the last 20 years. Gave it a name in the last few years. They know it's there. But nobody can see it or find it. It's got to be there. They say it is there. And 90%, it's what fills in all the stuff between me and you, dark matter. Between the stars and the stars, between the stars and the planets. It's what keeps everything from just flying out. It's like kind of like the glue. It's like remember we used to have fly paper? You ever have been in a place where you do one of those strips? Those flies would come in there. It seemed like, I never did feel much compassion for flies. I never did say, poor flies. Never said that. I have had said poor mouse, though, when they got these things that mice stick on. Oh, man. I think I'd rather at least get a bite of cheese, and then go on out to be with Jesus in mouse heaven instead of being stuck to a piece of paper. Dark matter. That God, whom you can't see. Do you say that you know Him, you've met Him, you believe in Him, and yet there's nothing in your life? He says, well, I'm going to give you what I do have. I don't have any money. I've told people that before. I don't have any money, but I'll fix you a sandwich. You know most people don't want a sandwich? I don't have any money, but I'll put some gas in your car. You can put some gas in somebody's car without even having money. But no, I'm kind of wanting the money. I get it. I get it entirely, completely unhappy. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, stand up and walk. I ain't got much. Do have this, though. You've never walked in your life. I can make you walk. He took him by the right hand, lifted him up, and immediately his feet and ankle bones received strength. And he leapt to his feet and walked and entered with them into the temple, walking and leaping and praising God. More fireworks. Another miracle. Let's look at the next slide. And all the people saw him walking and praising God. The thing is that sometimes you don't think God's done anything for you. How wrong you could possibly be. God ain't never done nothing for me. You're wrong. You're wrong. And you're unobservant. And you may be ignorant if you think God ain't never done nothing for me. If God's ever done anything for you, and if you think he hasn't, let me pray for you, or let me spend some time with you, and I'll show you what God's done for you. You may have what you think to be a terrible, awful life, a miserable kind of life. You know, sometimes people call the preacher. They just find him in the phone book. That's getting harder, but it's easier to find him on. They'll just call the preacher in the middle of the night, and they say, "Preacher, I'm just about to kill myself. I want to kill myself. I want to talk to the preacher for you." So I say, "All right." I just began talking to him. And so let's find out what's in your life. A lot of bad stuff, no doubt. And the thing is that most of the time I find they've completely forgotten about all the good things. This guy, God did something for him. He was just praising God. He was thankful. He was grateful. Some of you go through your whole life and you never thank anybody for anything. Do you thank the waitress? Do you thank the person who held the door for you? Do you thank someone who sent you an encouraging note? Someone who smiled at you? Thank you for that smile. Are you a grateful person? Are you ungrateful? Do people do things for you all the time? I don't even know. I had some car trouble Friday night. I called my wife first of all because I couldn't think of anything to do. I told everybody, I usually, because I'm going to do this, and this. Friday night, evidently my brain was fried. And I just sit there in my car. It wouldn't crank. Thankful that I was able to coast to a Dollar General store. I must have coasted a mile with a car completely cold and dead. Danny came and helped, came and got me, and he's got some family. He and Liz have some family. They live in Scottsboro. And so yesterday morning they helped me fix my car. You know, nobody wants to be completely dependent upon someone and needing that much help. But I always have options, not because I'm such a good or popular person, it's just because God is so good. Well, I'm praising God this morning for those who helped me out Friday night and Saturday morning. Please tell people thank you. I even felt, I went into the Wynn household, and Helen didn't do anything to help other than tell Jerry what to do. That's her husband. I went in there and told Helen, thank you for letting my brother spend the night with you. That's bound to be an inconvenience. Probably fed him a couple of times. I don't know. Maybe fed him breakfast. But then, thank you for letting me use your husband. He came to help me. Are you grateful? He was praising God. And they knew that he was the one who always sat begging for alms at the beautiful gate of the temple. And they were filled with wonder and amazement. I know that guy. He's not the walking guy. And as the man who was healed gazed at Peter and John, all the people ran together to him in the porch. That's called Solomon's. You say they went from the beautiful gate and went to Solomon's gate. Peter looked at John and said, let's get out of here. They were not interested in being the center of attention or getting anybody's praise or being in the center of a crowd. And all of a sudden we look up and there's Solomon's gate, Solomon's porch. Let's look at the next slide. About finished up here, folks. Hang on with me. Now, this is the first message in More Than Miracles. I'd like to dissuade you or convince you of against the notion that miracles is the highest, greatest thing that God ever does. You know, miraculous, making someone who's sick, making them well, healing the sick, giving sight to the blind, hearing to the deaf, speech to the mute, feeding people who are hungry, miraculous things that break all the laws of nature and all the laws of physics. Cheating, in other words, breaking the rules. God is not completely against the breaking the rules, and he has done it many times. I believe in miracles. I believe that things happen that can't be explained, things that doctors can't explain, scientists can't understand. But are miracles the top of the mountain? Is that as strong and as powerful and as great? Let me tell you what, when I'm praying for you, when I'm praying for the people on our prayer list, I'm praying for miracles, almost always. Because I know that when you When you have a heart attack, the way that usually turns out is that you die. When you get cancer of any kind, there's so many different kinds of cancer. Cancer means that it's a terminal disease. Almost always. Often it is. We know what usually happens when someone's in an automobile accident, or when someone gets sick, or someone gets some disease. We know what usually happens because the mortality rate is 100%. Every one of us is going to die, and death is almost always the conclusion of the physical maladies that invade our life. But it's very, very hard to say, Lord, just let this come along and meet its ultimate conclusion. No, we're saying, Lord, save me. Lord, save my children. Save my loved ones. Help. Do something miraculous. I know that. I understand that. But sometimes I think that we're wrong. I think we're always wrong if we think that the miraculous is the top of the mountain. The miraculous is the greatest, most powerful thing that God does. Let me show you something. Let's look at this last slide. In Mark's Gospel, chapter 15, verse 30, people looked up at Jesus as he hung on the cross, and they said, "Come down from the cross and save yourself." I believe that this is the most important thing and the most powerful thing, the most life-changing, eternity-changing thing that God has ever done. And it wasn't miraculous. Jesus could have made the nails disappear. He could have floated down like a feather on a breeze from the cross. He could have instantaneously healed all of his wounds with which he'd been inflicted. Jesus could have caused 10,000s and thousands of angels to come down. You know, we have a song. He could have called 10,000. In the Bible, it says he could have called 12 legions of angels. That means thousands and thousands. He could have called all the angels down. In the Old Testament, we said that an angel went down to face the Amalekites, and one angel killed them all in one night. What if thousands? Jesus could have called them all down. He could have exerted his supernatural power. I do sleight of hand. Jesus doesn't do magic or doesn't do tricks. He has real power, and it's not magical. I believe that if you will study the Bible carefully, you will find that God does things that are more powerful than miracles, more important than miracles. If something happens to me and a doctor looks at me and says, "Well, there's no hope," I said, "You're wrong there." If I get sick or if something happens to me where my life is in danger, I guess I could say, "I'd like to be well." I wake up almost every morning and say, "God, I wish I had a 20-year-old body again." I don't think he's going to answer that prayer. I just think my body's going to get older and older. But you know what? I wouldn't be 16 again or 18 again for nothing. Not for no amount of money. Because I'm on a journey and I'm getting closer to home all the time. I don't want to start over. I don't even want to go back even. But if I were to find out that my life would soon be over, I hope that I would be willing. Yes, if God made me well, I could tell everybody, and that would be important. But I have seen through the testimony of the Scriptures and through Christian history and through my own personal life that God can do things that are more powerful, more life-changing, without ever working a miracle. I don't believe that miracles is the best God's got. I think this is. When I was able to go to Israel a couple of years ago, several years ago now. It's not even a couple, it's a long time ago. I'm getting old. And there was, I met some people there I'd never known before. A man, he's a director of missions over in Lawrence County, and his wife, and she has a form of ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. You know Lou Gehrig died of that. What are the chances of that? But she can hardly walk, and she's lost her ability to speak. She's a beautiful person, but she doesn't have much control of her body, and she has to be in a wheelchair all the time. And I met her, and I think, first time I saw them, I think, why in the world are y'all going to Israel? Maybe I know, but he's going to have to haul her, and he had to work out and exercise and push himself into a physical regimen to prepare for this trip so that he could push her upstairs and pull her downstairs and lift her and haul her. Listen, we all helped a lot, but Bunky and Cindy Smith, my heroes. And I want to tell you what, when I went over there for the first time to Israel, I was in the dark. I was more depressed and discouraged, despondent, filled with more despair than I've ever had in my entire life. And I didn't know why I was going to the land of Israel either. And I was at probably one of the most dark times of my life. And I went over there, and I was the videographer. I took pictures and videos of everywhere we went, everybody. But at night, I would go to different, it was about 30, 35 of us, and I'd go to motel rooms of the people traveling with us, and I'd interview them on video. It was part of one of our keepsakes, one of our mementos. And I remember the night going to the Smiths hotel room. There it was on the Sea of Galilee. And I went into their room. They knew they was expecting me. I'd made an appointment with them. Came in, and I said, before I turn the camera on, I want to say something to you. I said, God didn't bring me here to Israel to see Calvary, where Jesus died. I've seen it, and I loved it. I said, God didn't bring me here to see the empty tomb, and I stood in the empty tomb. He didn't take me here so I could see the Mount of configuration. God didn't bring me here to walk where Jesus walked. I looked at them and I said, God brought me here to see you. And I said, I've never seen or felt the power of God any place more. Even when I stood next to Mount Calvary, you've inspired me, and this is why God brought me here. This is why God brought me here to meet you. You know what I would do if I was God? I would heal Cindy in a minute. I'd just touch her. I'd make her well. That'd be the worst thing that could ever possibly happen. She's worse now, and she's never going to be better. I just expect at any time that I'll hear that she's completely incapacitated. She used to be a school teacher. It's more than miracles. God's doing more through that Christian couple, the way they are. If she was healthy and well, nobody would ever notice them. God's doing something. Maybe God wants to do something in your life. I know what you want. You want a miracle. You want something magical. You want fire to fall down. You want fireworks. No, I do too. I do too. Would you pray with me? Let's pray together. Father, if there is someone here today who feels that you're not paying attention, that you're not looking, that you're not helping them, that you don't care. Lord, I know from experience that there's no doubt in my mind that you're doing something in their life. It's probably not what they want you to do. Lord, what we want is magic and miracles every moment of our life. We want you to feed us and take care of us and make us healthy and well. Give us money in our bank account and a good car that cranks all the time. Lord, we want all these things, and we want them from you. Or somebody. We don't really care who they come from. But God, you're doing more things that are like the cross than things that might make us walk and leap. With heads bowed and eyes closed, I'm going to ask Karen and Ronnie if they would play an invitational hymn for us. Your heads bowed and eyes closed. Where are you at in your life? What's going on? You feel like God doesn't care for you? God's not doing anything? Are Or do you feel like the only way that you can sense the presence of God is if the fireworks are shooting up in the sky? And you don't see God in the mundane, everyday hurts and aches and pains of your life. The wants and the needs. The empty places. Places where you're sick, where your pain is. God is there. And He may be there. He may be there more than miracles. Would you be willing to say, God, show me what you're doing in your life? If you can't, or you choose not to, Lord, I want to accept it. And show my gratefulness and my thanks to you for what you're doing in my life. And it may be something, it may in fact be the top of the mountain. It may be the bottom of the valley. But you may be doing something in me that requires me to stay on the cross and to give my life. If you've never given your life to Christ, you need to do that right now. Say, Lord Jesus, please come into me. If God never did anything in the world but just give His Son for us, don't tell me that that's not enough. Yes, God, your Son died for us, but what have you done for me today? What have you done for me lately? He's done enough, but He wants to do more. More sometimes than miracles. Father, thank you for your grace, your goodness. It is amazing. But I pray that you would show us the things that you're doing and let us know the things you want to do. Help us to submit to your will and to the life that you've given us. So that everything that is a part of us as people watch us would be a praise to you no matter what. Good times and bad times, good things and bad things. We praise you no matter what. I pray this, Lord Jesus, in your name. Amen. God bless you, folks. Thank you. Is there anything that I've overlooked or forgotten to say or do today? All right. Your kids are waiting for you in Children's Church. God bless you. Please come back tonight at 6. I look forward to seeing you then if you can come. Have a pleasant afternoon.
Hey, Ronnie, how's it going?
Doing good, Alan.
Good. Got my new job.
Thank you, sir.
Job indicator.
Yeah, I got things in January. So what we got to pay kind of job now.
That's good.
Basically doing what I'm doing now.
That's good. Little less drive there.